we need to listen to what Axios reporter Alex Thompson had to say about the inner circle controlling Biden at the end of his term. Watch this.
The people that were in charge were Mike Donilon, Steve Ricchetti, Bruce Reed, Anthony Bernal, the First Lady's chief of staff, the First Lady, and Annie Tomasini. Those were the people that saw him the most and that had the most control over what he was doing and his day-to-day.
Well, clearly, Congressman, he is naming names. And we have the Washington Post columnist, Sally Quinn, accusing former First Lady of elder abuse. What do you say to that, Congressman? Elder abuse.
It is elder abuse. It is. There's no doubt about that. And all of these officials that were in the Biden White House, as far as I'm concerned, they need to come in front of the Oversight Committee because questions need to be answered. Last thing I will say on this is, depending on when the president truly was not in control of his mental faculties, a lot of the stuff that he did as president, in my view, should be invalidated. And the reason why is because you can't use an auto pen to run the country. It has to be from the mental capabilities and the physical capabilities of the person elected to be commander-in-chief. And so if Joe Biden could not execute the duties of his office, then why are we living under a lot of the decisions that was made by the Biden White House? So there's a lot of investigations that need to occur on this matter. This is a major scandal, in my view, the biggest one in presidential history. We can now put Watergate to bed because the auto pen is now in front of us.
Want to really see something that said, take a look at what happened.
Hey. Why this beat so crazy?
We will make America proud again. And you try to kill our We will make America wealthy again. And yes, together, we will make America great again.
Joe, you did such a great job. You answered every question. You knew all the facts. And let me ask the crowd, what did Trump do?
I'm still in belief. I just can't believe that we actually allowed this to happen. This actually took place in America. They should have walked this heifer out with her hands behind her back. They should have walked this heifer out. Elderly abuse. You did such a great job, Joe. You answered every last question. There's no way we let this happen in America. It actually happened. This actually took place. Blew the motor and the transmission. It was a cheap fake, a deep fake. And then she came out there with her big old binder and just said it was a cheap fake, a deep fake once again. That the American people are not seeing this for what it is. That it's AI edited. That what we're seeing with our own eyes and hearing is not real. That we're stupid. That them patriots are stupid. The biggest scandal in American history, y'all. And it just gets worse. It just gets worse as these hearings are going on, as the evidence is coming out, the whistleblowers. It just gets worse every single day. And I want accountability. You know. That's what Americans want. A lot of us want accountability, man. Because this is a disgrace. Then look, let me show you the difference. I mean, what a night and day difference. Look at the beautiful First Lady, Melania. Right? And this was just a couple hours ago. President Trump was on the phone with Vladimir Putin. And Melania was visiting sick kids at the hospital. You know, what a complete difference.
Happy July 4th.
Nobody needs a pardon. You know, I'm telling you, man. What a complete night and day difference. There's no crack cocaine on the dresser in the bathroom. There's no doo-doo stains and coffee stains and ice creams. The floor's all sticky and stuff. It's a complete difference. Look.
So what do you like to do? Do you like sport? Do you like dancing? Do you like music? What do you like?
I play football.
You play football?
I play soccer.
That's soccer.
I play golf.
Golf? Are you good?
Games.
Yeah?
Like doing gymnastics, dance, and singing.
Singing. Which songs you like? What do you like? What music you like?
This, like pop music.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this new movie called K-pop Demon Hunters that I really like.
That's
Yeah,
very
so
nice.
I like it.
How amazing is that, man? What a night and day difference, man. They ought to walk this stuff out in handcuffs. I ain't lying to you, man. Handcuffs. And did y'all see what Jake Tapper admitted? I tell you, man. Running a cabinet meeting.
The White House, in her words, surprises you.
They should have walked this heifer out, man. You know.
Source is wrong.
They are wrong. There's nothing to sustain that. And so we went to work and we got it done. And, you know, one of the things that well, and
Alyssa, you know, one of the things I think is that the people who wrote those books were not in the White House with us. And they didn't see how hard Joe worked every single day. If you look at things today, give me Joe Biden anytime.
go!
Okay, these edits here, I tell you. All right. Yeah. I tell you, boy, you know, whistleblowers, people admitting this and that. You just can't make this up.
Few people knew about Biden. Well, the president of the United States.
I mean, I think the fact of the matter is the DNC is always going to be like a campaign arm of the president, ultimately. The bigger issue was like the inner circle that was around Biden. That's it.
And I can't stress to you enough.
Like Joe Biden's chief of staff.
That was like an open secret at the level. Like, I would avoid him. Like, he was scary.
What was his name?
Anthony Bernal.
I've never seen him.
Exactly.
What do you mean?
He's like a shadowy, like, Wizard of Oz type figure. That's what made him so, like, I knew how he looked, but I'm like, the general public wouldn't know how this man looked. But he wielded an enormous amount of power, and I can't stress to you how much power he had at the White House.
I tell you, man, it's just can't make it up, man. You know.
To appear before the House Oversight Committee today. Bernal is known for being Jill Biden's quote-unquote work husband, and he said yesterday that he would not sit down for a closed-door interview with the committee. His decision comes after lawmakers say he previously agreed to do so. Committee chairman.
You just can't make this up, man.
Is Carmine Sabia for Explain America, and guys, now it all makes sense, and it could see Jill Biden behind bars. Before we get started, please help us out, and they help our channel, at least in name, the former president of the United States. He forgot to pardon Jill Biden, his wife. He was handing out pardons to the whole family like potato chips at a picnic, but he forgot to pardon his wife. And now, brand new reporting out of Axios claims that it was Jill Biden, the former First Lady, along with a cavalcade of stars, about 7 in total, who actually pulled the strings in the White House. In other words, that Joe Biden was a figurehead president, and that this conglomerate of people with Jill Biden at the center were the actual presidents of the United States, making the decisions, calling the shots. As Byron Donald says, forget Watergate. Watergate is a footnote in history compared to how big of a scandal this is. And
they say this makes Watergate look like a parking ticket.
Yes, Jill Biden and everybody involved in this, if prosecuted by Pam Bondi, and I don't see a reason she wouldn't, if she can get the evidence, could face as much as 8 years in prison. Here's how. 3 years maximum prison sentence for impersonating a federal officer. 5 years maximum prison sentence for conspiracy to defraud the United States. These are major charges. It also sets up a massive constitutional crisis because they would have also violated the 25th Amendment of the Constitution. This is a massive scandal. I don't care what the mainstream media wants to tell you. Axios is a pretty liberal news organization, And for them to report this, they must have great sources. And I got to imagine the Department of Justice is going to dig into this and find out what's going on. And the reason is not just to punish people. It's so that nothing like this could ever happen again. It all makes sense now.
Accountability, man.
We all sat here and said, what kind of wife could look at her husband in the shape he's in and keep pushing him? And apparently, according to Axios, the reason is because she was the president and wanted to stay the president just secretly. I mean, that's what this reporting basically shows, if it's correct. Now, they talked about it today. Byron Donalds was on top of this, and I want you to check this out. Watch this video. And
I'll tell you, man.
Abruptly refusing to testify in the investigation. Former aide for Dr. Jill Biden abruptly refusing to testify in the investigation into the alleged cover-up of her husband's mental decline while he served as president.
Brooke Singman is here with all the details. Hi, Brooke.
Hey guys, that's right. Jill Biden's right-hand man, Anthony Bernal, is refusing to appear before the House Oversight Committee today. Bernal is known for being Jill Biden's quote-unquote work husband. He said yesterday that he would not sit down for a closed-door interview with the committee. His decision comes after lawmakers say he previously agreed to do so. Committee Chairman James Comer putting out this statement saying, quote, now that the White House has waived executive privilege, it is abundantly clear that Anthony Bernal, Jill Biden's so-called work husband, never intended to be transparent about Joe Biden's cognitive decline. I will promptly issue a subpoena to compel Anthony Bernal's testimony before the committee. But former Biden aide Neera Tanden did testify to the committee on Tuesday, and a source confirmed to Fox that she did admit to being authorized to direct auto pen signatures. Now, that auto pen replicated Biden's signature on documents like pardons, memos, and more. But Tanden was not sure who gave the final approval. A new Fox News poll shows that 52% of Americans believe it's important for Congress to investigate the use of Biden's auto pen, and 50% want to investigate Biden advisors who made key decisions. Meanwhile, the committee is still waiting to hear from Biden's former doctor, Kevin O'Connor, in addition to 2 other former advisors. President Trump has also instructed the Justice Department to launch a separate investigation into the alleged cover-up. Guys.
Brooke Singman live for us. Brooke, thank you. With that, let us bring in former press secretary for the First Lady, Jill Biden, Dr. Jill Biden. It is Michael LaRosa. And Michael, great to have you on the program. You were hired by Anthony Bernal for the Biden campaign. You are, in fact, his roommate on that campaign. What is Anthony Bernal hiding?
Well, first of all, I want to give him the benefit of the doubt that this is not rescheduling for, a personal family emergency or anything. But if it's not, it was a pretty bonehead move because the entire country, the news cycle was devoted to the Iran engagement and President Trump. People kind of forgot about this. Now everybody's talking about it, or at least we are today. And it really does a disservice to the Bidens. And it kind of escalates and confirms suspicions that the Republicans already had. And if you have nothing to hide, there should be no reason not to cooperate. So, my best advice to him would be to over-cooperate, just like Neera did. And, show, don't tell.
Speaking like a true communications professional, use what happened in Iran as your cover because nobody's paying attention. If Iran's going on, he had an opportunity and he didn't jump on it. Yeah, it
would have went under the radar, and people kind of forgot about it. Even mainstream reporters kind of forgot about it until news broke that he is now going to be compelled, and that's sort of an escalation, and it only raises eyebrows, unfortunately, and does a real disservice to Dr. B and
Michael,
President Biden.
Let's step back for a moment. How powerful was your roommate? That's what I'm going to call him for 3 years. Was your roommate, Anthony Bernal, in the Biden White House?
I don't think anybody would dispute the characterization that he was probably the most powerful human being inside the Biden's orbit and inside the White House. And I don't say that with any slight or with any degree of pride. It's just a fact, and I don't think anybody would argue with that because nobody wants to say no to a first lady. And Anthony, when he spoke, it was hard to tell where the line began and end to whether he was speaking for Dr. B or not. So he was pretty powerful when it came to guarding the Biden's privacy, and that was ultimately what did the Bidens in was this knee-jerk, reflexive move by the culture of the staff to reflexively sort of dodge, stonewall, evade when it comes to transparency. And it was the subject of a lot of colorful disagreements between Anthony and myself, where I was always want to err on the side of full disclosure on anything, as dumb as dog bites. But there was always a reluctance to be upfront about even the smallest things that drove me crazy.
Well, let me get you on a big thing, because Neera Tanden said she had to obtain approval to use the auto pen from the president's inner circle. Michael, was Anthony Bernal ultimately in charge of giving the final approval for the auto pen?
I highly doubt it. I mean, at least I would like to believe that. I like to believe that he wasn't. He would have no reason to be over there. And Neera was not the staff secretary in the last year and a half. Somebody else was. So it will be interesting to see if they decide to subpoena the person who held the job of staff secretary for the last year and a half.
The big question: if Anthony Bernal is forced to testify under oath, is there any way he could testify truthfully that he did not notice Joe Biden's cognitive decline?
Well, Todd, it's hard for me to say, only because, look, in my 3 years, it wasn't I didn't experience that. Now, I left at the end of 2022. Anthony had more access and proximity to the Bidens in their private time, in their private spaces. And so he would know, and he would have had his own observations, and he would have to be truthful about that.
Yes, we are waiting to see the response to the subpoena, but one has to assume that if he did not show up voluntarily, he's probably going to fight the subpoena. We'll see how that all plays out.